Welcome to the History in Focus channel. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this one. The wreckage of the tragic Tenerife accident in the Canary Islands. On March 27, 1977, two Boeing 747s, one from KLM and another from Pan Am, collided on the runway at Los Rodeos Airport. The disaster was caused by a fatal combination of communication failures and poor visibility due to fog. The collision resulted in 583 fatalities, making it the deadliest aviation accident in terms of casualties. Only 61 people survived, all from the Pan Am aircraft. The Charkhi-Dadri disaster was the worst mid-air collision recorded in history. On November 12, 1996, Saudi Arabian Airlines Flight 763 collided with Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907 over India. All 349 people on board both planes died, with no survivors. The cause of the accident was attributed to pilot error on the part of the Kazakh crew, who misinterpreted air traffic control instructions and descended too quickly as they approached Delhi Airport, putting them directly in the Saudi plane's path. The result of this error was a boom heard for miles and 349 lives lost. In this aerial image, the wreckage of American Airlines Flight 587 is scattered across Bell Harbor, New York, after the crash on November 12, 2001. The aircraft, an Airbus A300, lost its vertical stabilizer shortly after taking off from John F. Kennedy International Airport due to excessive rudder use in turbulence. All 260 on board and 5 people on the ground perished. Gol Transportes Aéreos Flight 1907 was a tragic accident on September 29, 2006. The aircraft, a Boeing 737-800, collided mid-air with an Embraer Legacy 600 executive jet over the Amazon rainforest in Mato Grosso, Brazil. The Boeing was carrying 154 people, including passengers and crew, while the Legacy had 7 occupants. The accident was caused by a failure in the Traffic Collision Avoidance System, TCS, of the Legacy, which was deactivated, combined with air traffic control errors. The collision caused the Boeing to lose control and crash, resulting in the death of everyone on board. The Legacy managed to make an emergency landing with its occupants unharmed. In this image, Japan Airlines Boeing 747-100, registered as JA8119, is at Haneda International Airport in Tokyo. This aircraft was the subject of the tragic JL-123 crash on August 12, 1985. The aircraft suffered structural failure caused by improper repairs conducted years prior, leading to explosive decompression and loss of control. For 32 minutes, the pilot struggled to stabilize the plane, but it crashed into Mount Takamagahara. Of the 524 on board, only 4 survived, marking it as the worst single-plane disaster in history. This image shows the wreckage of FedEx Express Flight 647, a McDonnell Douglas MD-1010F, which crashed on December 18, 2003 at Memphis International Airport, Tennessee. During landing in crosswind conditions, the aircraft tilted to the right, leading to the collapse of the right landing gear and a fire that destroyed part of the fuselage. The 2 pilots and 5 other occupants survived without serious injuries, thanks to quick evacuation. The investigation determined that an inadequate response to crosswinds during landing was a key factor. This image shows the wreckage of Asiana Airlines Flight 214, a Boeing 777-200ER, after the accident on July 6, 2013, at San Francisco International Airport, California, United States. During landing, the aircraft was below the ideal altitude and had insufficient speed, causing the tail to strike the runway wall. Of the 307 occupants, 3 lost their lives and 187 were injured. United Airlines Flight 826 collided mid-air with TWA Flight 266 over New York City on December 16, 1960. The disaster caused both aircraft to crash into residential areas, resulting in the deaths of 134 people, including 6 on the ground. This marked the first major collision over an urban area in the United States and led to significant improvements in air traffic control. British Airways. Flight 548, a Hawker Siddeley Trident, crashed near Staines, England on June 18, 1972. The accident occurred minutes after takeoff from Heathrow Airport, resulting in the deaths of all 118 people on board. Investigations revealed a combination of crew errors and technical malfunctions, including a critical issue with the aircraft's slats. The crash of Asiana Airlines Flight 214 is seen after the accident at San Francisco International Airport, United States, on July 6, 2013. The Boeing 777 experienced an unsuccessful approach, resulting in a ground collision before reaching the runway. The impact tore off the landing gear and part of the fuselage, also causing a cabin fire. Of the 307 people on board, 3 lost their lives, and over 180 were injured. The investigation identified pilot training deficiencies and communication issues as primary factors. The Boeing 737 of Turkish Airlines, after the crash during the approach to Schiphol Airport, Amsterdam, on February 25, 2009. The flight, coming from Istanbul, lost lift due to a failure in altitude sensors, leading to excessive power reduction. The aircraft crashed in a field, breaking into 3 parts. Of the 135 occupants, 9 died, including 3 crew members, and 86 were injured. The swift response of emergency services prevented a higher number of casualties. Avianca Flight 052 was a tragic accident involving a Boeing 707, which occurred on January 25, 1990, in Cove Neck, Long Island, New York. The aircraft departed from Bogota, Colombia, with a stopover in Medellin, and faced severe delays and adverse weather conditions during its approach to John F. Kennedy International Airport. Due to fuel exhaustion, the plane lost power in all engines before reaching the airport, resulting in a forced landing in a residential area. Of the 158 on board, 73 died, while 85 survived, many with serious injuries. The remains of a Continental Airlines Boeing 737, 300 after an accident at Denver International Airport, Colorado on December 20, 2008. During takeoff, strong crosswinds caused the aircraft to veer off the runway, crash into the ground, and catch fire. Of the 115 on board, 38 were injured, but all survived. The fuselage was severely damaged by the fire, but rapid evacuation prevented fatalities. U.S. Airways Flight 1549 rests in the Hudson River, New York City, after the so-called Miracle on the Hudson on January 15, 2009. The Airbus A320 lost both engines after a bird strike shortly after departing from LaGuardia Airport. Captain Chesley "Sully" Sullenberger performed an emergency water landing, saving all 155 people on board. Quick evacuation and nearby boats ensured everyone's survival. Singapore Airlines Flight 006 crashed on October 31, 2000 at Taipei International Airport, Taiwan. The Boeing 747-400 attempted to take off from a closed runway during a typhoon, colliding with construction equipment. The impact caused a fire that destroyed much of the aircraft. Of the 179 people on board, 83 lost their lives and 71 were injured. The investigation identified human error as the main cause, highlighting failures in runway identification and crew communication. Southwest Airlines Flight 1455 was an incident on March 5, 2000, involving a Boeing 737-300 during landing at Burbank Airport, California. The aircraft approached at excessive speed, overshot the runway, crashed through a fence, and came to a stop in a parking lot near a gas station. All 142 on board survived, although 2 passengers were seriously injured and several others suffered minor injuries. Despite significant damage to the aircraft, the proximity to the gas station did not result in explosions, avoiding a larger tragedy. The wreckage of American Airlines Flight 1420, a McDonnell Douglas MD-82, which crashed on June 1, 1999, at Little Rock National Airport, Arkansas. During final approach in severe storm conditions, the aircraft overran the runway, struck a structure, and caught fire. Of the 145 on board, 11 lost their lives, including the captain. The investigation revealed that the accident resulted from a combination of operational decisions under pressure and extreme weather conditions. China Airlines Flight 120, a Boeing 737, 800, suffered a fire at Naha Airport, Okinawa, Japan on August 20, 2007. The fire started shortly after landing due to a fuel leak caused by a loose bolt in a fuel tank. All 165 occupants, including passengers and crew, evacuated the aircraft before the flames consumed most of it, resulting in only minor injuries. JetBlue Airways. Flight 292, an Airbus A320, made an emergency landing at Los Angeles International Airport, California on September 21, 2005. The incident occurred due to a failure in the front landing gear, which became locked in a 90-degree position after departing from Burbank. The pilots kept the aircraft in flight for about 3 hours to burn off fuel and reduce the risk of fire. During the landing, the front gear generated sparks and smoke, but the crew skillfully controlled the plane. All 146 passengers and crew on board were unharmed. This image shows the wreckage of Helios Airways Flight 522, a Boeing 737-300 which crashed on August 14, 2005 near Grammatico, Greece. The accident occurred due to cabin pressurization failure, which incapacitated the crew and passengers through hypoxia. The aircraft on autopilot flew until it ran out of fuel before crashing. All 121 people on board lost their lives. The investigation revealed errors in the pressurization system configuration and training deficiencies as contributing factors to the disaster. Lion Air Flight 904, a Boeing 737-800, is seen partially submerged in the sea following an accident on April 13, 2013. The aircraft failed to reach the runway during its approach to Ngurah Rai International Airport, Bali, Indonesia, crashing into the water just meters from the coast. Of the 108 occupants, including passengers and crew, all survived, though 46 suffered injuries, mostly minor. The damage suffered by Aloha Airlines Flight 243, a Boeing 737-200, after an incident on April 28, 1988. During the flight between Hilo and Honolulu, Hawaii, part of the upper fuselage disintegrated due to structural fatigue caused by corrosion. Despite the significant structural loss, the pilots managed to land the aircraft safely at Kahului Airport, Maui. Of the 95 on board, 1 flight attendant lost her life and 65 were injured. U.S. Air Flight 5050, a Boeing 737-400, experienced an accident on September 20, 1989, at LaGuardia Airport, New York. During takeoff, the aircraft veered off due to improper rudder settings and uneven acceleration, running off the runway and into Flushing Bay. Of the 63 on board, 2 lost their lives and 21 were injured. The wreckage of Korean Air Flight 801, a Boeing 747-300, which crashed on August 6, 1997, during its approach to Guam International Airport. The aircraft struck a hill known as Nimitz Hill, just a few miles from the runway amid adverse weather conditions. Of the 254 on board, 228 lost their lives while 26 survived, many with severe injuries. The investigation pointed to cockpit management failures, improper navigation, and the lack of updated instrument landing systems at the airport as primary causes. The MV Queen of the North, a Canadian ferry operated by BC Ferries, sank on March 22, 2006 in Wright Sound, British Columbia. The ship collided with Gill Island during its route between Prince Rupert and Port Hardy. Of the 101 people on board, 2 went missing and were never found. Pan Am Flight 843, a Boeing 747, experienced a catastrophic engine failure on July 22, 1973, at San Francisco International Airport, California. The engine fire caused structural damage to part of the wing during takeoff. The crew managed an emergency landing and all 218 passengers and crew survived, though 30 suffered minor injuries. Kish Air Flight 7170 was a tragic accident on February 10, 2004, involving a Fokker 50 during its approach to Sharjah International Airport in the United Arab Emirates. The aircraft departed from Kish Island, Iran, carrying 46 people, including passengers and crew. During the approach procedure, the plane abruptly lost altitude and crashed about 2 miles from the runway. The impact resulted in the deaths of 43 occupants, while 3 survived with severe injuries. The investigation identified human error as the primary cause, highlighting execution failures in the approach procedure by the pilots. This image shows the wreckage of an Iranian Air Force Boeing 707 cargo plane that crashed on January 14, 2019 in Karaj, Iran. The aircraft was transporting meat from Kyrgyzstan to Iran and attempted to land under adverse conditions at Fath Airport, which had a runway unsuitable for such large planes. During the landing, the crew misjudged the runway, and the aircraft overran into a nearby residential area. Of the 16 on board, only 1 survived. A cargo. Antonov An-26 aircraft crashed on October 14, 2017, off the coast near Abidjan International Airport, Ivory Coast. Operated by a Moldovan company, it was transporting military cargo and 10 individuals, including crew members and French military personnel. The crash occurred during a storm, with the aircraft hitting the sea shortly after takeoff. 4 people lost their lives, while 6 were rescued with injuries. The MV Dona Paz, one of history's deadliest maritime disasters, occurred on December 20, 1987, in the Philippines. The ferry collided with the MT Vector, a tanker carrying highly flammable gasoline. The collision caused a catastrophic fire. Estimates suggest that around 4,386 people died, though official figures are disputed due to overcrowding and incomplete records. Only 24 survived. The USS Cole, a United States Navy destroyer, was attacked on October 12, 2000, while refueling in Aden, Yemen. A small boat carrying explosives detonated near the ship, creating a large hole in its hull. The explosion killed 17 sailors and injured 39, making it one of the most significant terrorist attacks against the U.S. Navy at the time. The USS Cole was later repaired and returned to service. The MV St. Thomas Aquinas ferry sank on August 16, 2013, after colliding with the cargo ship Sulpicio Express Siete near Cebu's port in the Philippines. The ferry capsized quickly following the impact. Over 100 people died, with dozens more missing, though about 700 passengers were rescued. Investigations revealed that both vessels could have avoided the collision by navigating safer routes. The ARA San Juan, a submarine of the Argentine Navy, disappeared on November 15, 2017, during a mission in the South Atlantic Ocean. The TR-1700 class submarine was carrying 44 crew members and had reported technical issues before its disappearance. After an extensive international search, its wreckage was discovered on November 17, 2018, at a depth of 907 meters. The dive boat Conception caught fire on September 2, 2019, while anchored near Santa Cruz Island, California. The fire broke out during the early morning as passengers and crew slept. Of the 39 people on board, only 5 crew members escaped, leaving 34 dead, most trapped in lower-deck sleeping quarters. The HTMS Sukhothai, a corvette of the Royal Thai Navy, sank during a storm in the Gulf of Thailand in December 2022. Built for coastal defense operations, the vessel suffered stability failures and flooding in its hull, leading to the tragedy. The loss highlighted challenges in maintaining operational readiness during adverse conditions. The Moskva missile cruiser, flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, launched in 1982, served in various military operations. On April 14, 2022, during the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the cruiser was hit by Ukrainian Neptune missiles, resulting in severe damage and sinking shortly thereafter. The Costa Concordia cruise ship is shown leaning after running aground near Giglio Island, Italy, on January 13, 2012. During an unauthorized close maneuver to the coast, the ship struck submerged rocks, causing a breach in the hull and a partial sinking. More than 4,200 people were on board, of whom 32 lost their lives. The incident was widely attributed to navigation errors and negligent decisions by the captain, who abandoned the vessel before completing the evacuation. This image features the ferry Lajula, which sank on September 26, 2002, off the coast of Gambia. The vessel, owned by Senegal, carried over 1,800 passengers, despite having a maximum capacity of 580. The ferry capsized during a storm due to overloading and structural instability. Only 64 people survived, making this one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history. The Spice Islander 1 ferry sank on September 10, 2011, in the Indian Ocean near the Zanzibar archipelago, Tanzania. It is estimated that over 2,000 people were on board, far exceeding the official capacity of 600. The overloaded ferry's instability led to its sinking, resulting in the deaths of around 1,500 people. The Al Salam Boccaccio 98, an Egyptian ferry, sank in the Red Sea on February 3, 2006, while traveling between Duba, Saudi Arabia, and Safaga, Egypt. The vessel carried about 1,400 people, including passengers and crew, and a significant cargo load, including vehicles. A fire broke out on the vehicle deck, but the captain chose to continue the journey, a fatal decision. The uncontrollable fire and overloading caused the ferry to capsize. Over 1,000 lives were lost, while about 400 were rescued. The El Faro cargo ship disappeared on October 1, 2015, during Hurricane Joaquin in the Atlantic Ocean. Carrying 33 crew members, the ship encountered winds of over 133 miles per hour before sinking near the Bahamas. The MV Lady. Mary Joy 3 ferry caught fire in the Philippines in 2023. The blaze started overnight in the lower decks and spread rapidly, forcing passengers to jump into the sea to escape. The vessel later ran aground, where rescue teams worked to recover survivors. Dozens died, and many remain missing. The Norman Atlantic, an Italian ferry, experienced a catastrophic fire in December 2014 while en route between Greece and Italy. The fire began in the cargo deck and quickly spread, trapping passengers on board for hours amid toxic smoke and extreme temperatures. Despite extensive rescue efforts involving helicopters and ships, the disaster claimed dozens of lives, with many others reported missing. The Orient Queen, a Lebanese-registered cruise ship, was destroyed during the Beirut port explosion on August 4, 2020. Docked near the explosion's epicenter, the ship sustained catastrophic damage, leading to its sinking. 2 crew members lost their lives and several others were injured. The Seawall ferry sank on April 16, 2014, near South Korea's coast while carrying 476 passengers, mainly students on a school trip. The disaster resulted in 304 deaths, making it one of South Korea's worst maritime tragedies. Investigations revealed that the vessel was overloaded with improperly secured cargo and structural modifications that compromised stability. The MV Nyerere ferry sank on September 20, 2018, in Lake Victoria, Tanzania. The vessel capsized near Ukara Island due to overloading and maintenance failures. Over 200 lives were lost, and only 41 survivors were rescued. The KM Sinar Bangun ferry sank in June 2018 while operating on Lake Toba, Indonesia during a trip from Simanindo to Tigaras. Although its capacity was just 60 passengers, over 200 people were reportedly on board. The incident resulted in one of Indonesia's deadliest maritime tragedies, with only a few survivors. The MV Bulgaria, a river passenger ship, sank on July 10, 2011 in the Volga River, Russia. Built in 1955, the vessel faced maintenance issues and was overloaded when it encountered a storm. The sinking near Sukayevo, Tatarstan, resulted in the deaths of 122 people, including many children, making it one of Russia's worst maritime disasters in decades. The Japanese ferry Sunflower, known for combining efficiency and comfort in maritime travel, experienced a devastating fire on November 13, 1998. The incident occurred during a trip between Kobe and Oita due to improperly stored flammable materials in the cargo hold. Though the fire spread rapidly, all passengers were evacuated safely, highlighting the importance of strict cargo management protocols. The Indonesian submarine KRI Nanggala 402 sank on April 21, 2021, during a naval exercise in the Bali Strait. This German-built Type 209 submarine, active since the 1980s, descended beyond its structural depth limit of 800 meters, resulting in a hull collapse. All 53 crew members on board lost their lives. The Jalakanyaka tourist boat capsized on September 30, 2009, in the Thekadi Reservoir, Kerala, India. The vessel, carrying 82 tourists, overturned due to overloading and passenger movements destabilizing it. The accident tragically claimed 45 lives. The ferry Lama 44 sank on October 1, 2012, near Lama Island, Hong Kong, after colliding with another vessel during National Day celebrations. The passengers on board were traveling to view a fireworks display. The accident resulted in 39 fatalities. The MV Lestari Maju ferry sank on July 3, 2018, while traveling between South Sulawesi and Selayar Island, Indonesia. The vessel suffered structural failure during rough weather, causing it to take on water. The crew attempted to ground it near the shore to reduce losses, but it partially sank before all passengers could evacuate. 35 people died, and more than 155 were rescued. The Viking Sigyn, operated by Viking River Cruises, collided with the Hablieni sightseeing boat on the Danube River in Budapest, Hungary, in May 2019. The smaller vessel sank almost instantly after the nighttime collision. The accident resulted in dozens of fatalities, making it one of the worst maritime disasters in the modern history of the Danube. Rescue crews are shown recovering the duck boat tourist vessel from Table Rock Lake, Missouri, after it sank on July 19, 2018. A sudden storm hit the area during a sightseeing tour, causing the boat to capsize. The disaster claimed the lives of 17 people, including several children. The Sea Diamond cruise ship sank on April 5, 2007, near Santorini Island, Greece. The ship struck an underwater reef, causing severe damage to its hull. Most of the 1,500 passengers and crew were evacuated successfully, but 2 passengers went missing and were never found. The ship sank entirely the following day, raising environmental concerns over the hazardous materials on board. The MV Queen of the North, a Canadian ferry operated by BC Ferries, sank on March 22, 2006 in Wright Sound, British Columbia. The ship collided with Gill Island during its route between Prince Rupert and Port Hardy. Of the 101 people on board, 2 went missing and were never found. The Sloviansk patrol ship of the Ukrainian Navy was shown in service for maritime security in the Black Sea. On March 13, 2022, during the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the vessel was struck by a missile and sank, marking a significant loss in the ongoing hostilities. Varig Flight 820, a Boeing 707, faced a tragic incident on July 11, 1973, while preparing to land at Orly Airport, France. A fire in the aircraft's rear lavatory caused dense smoke to fill the cabin. Despite efforts to perform an emergency landing, 123 of the 134 on board perished, mainly from smoke inhalation. Pan Am Flight 526A, a Douglas DC-4, crashed on April 11, 1952 in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. Shortly after takeoff, an engine failure caused the plane to lose altitude and crash into a residential area. Of the 69 people on board, 52 lost their lives. Southwest Airlines Flight 1248, a Boeing 737-700, is shown after overrunning the runway at Midway Airport, Chicago, Illinois, on December 8, 2005. During landing in heavy snow conditions, the aircraft failed to stop in time, breaching a fence and entering a busy street. The accident resulted in the death of a 6-year-old boy in a car struck by the plane and injuries to several others on the ground. All 103 on board survived. Air Niugini Flight 73, a Boeing 737-800, crashed on September 28, 2018 in Chuuk Lagoon, Micronesia. The aircraft failed to land on the runway at Chuuk International Airport during an approach and ended up in the water. Of the 47 on board, 46 were rescued alive by local boats, though 1 person lost their life in the incident. The MV Princess of the Stars, a Filipino ferry, sank on June 21, 2008 during Typhoon Fengshan. The vessel, carrying more than 850 people, capsized off the coast of Romblon Province. The tragedy occurred due to the decision to sail despite storm warnings. The overturned hull complicated rescue operations, and only 32 survivors were found.